months, this product that I'm talking about. And it already became part of a national missions project. It was something like this that one of my colleagues, one of my faculty member colleagues in IIT, so he said that, you know, there are no engineering colleges in the country which has a foundry anymore, real foundry. Even when we were students, we don't remember actually pouring metal and all. We were just making those molds. But right now, even those foundries have disappeared, including in the IITs, it seems. And he suggested this national missions project in which every engineering college should have a desktop foundry. So his angle of attack makes us look at a customer base, not necessarily the only customer base. Then we have started looking at people who are in the jewelry industry, then people who are making alloys, then people who are into rapid prototyping, you know, small desktop unit which will make parts, metal parts rapidly. So these challenges are there. We still need to figure out, like any other business.
Sure. Okay, so well, you also mentioned about comparing the open source movement in software to something that you're working on at TreeLabs. But in a software scenario, it feels and it seems that it's much simpler. You write code and you could be sitting all over the place, and you could be anywhere in the world and you could still be contributing. But here, when you're dealing with actual physical equipment, infrastructure, how exactly would that work with regards to what you're doing by comparing this with an open source movement?
See, I like to say two things. One, kind of a background to just tell you about how well aligned we are with the whole concept and the thinking of the open source movement. So, and the other part is, of course, how we can make it work. So to make the case concrete, some time back, Richard Stallman was in our office. Richard Stallman, probably most of you know, he's considered the father of the free software movement. I mean, he's the one who created GNU, which is rocking the world. And for, let me just for my own understanding, can I just have a raise of hands? How many of you think open source is revolutionizing the world? So I don't have to preach. So no, it's good because you know, but to Richard Stallman, who so sitting across the slide, sitting here, so I made the statement that the open source movement we all acknowledge is doing fabulous. I mean, you have the incredible software which are worthy enough running on most of the supercomputers in the world. They are worthy enough to run the entire internet, almost the entire internet, the backbone. All the servers in your Google's data centers are probably on open source only. In spite of all this, think about it, you are having all these fantastic people worldwide in this form, the open source. You are writing software, and this fantastic software has to run on hardware that is decided by multinational companies. You know, this movement, see, like even me as part of the open source, if some new hardware comes, this is the next generation of microprocessor comes, we have to fine tune our software to work on that hardware. So therefore my point is, in this mode, we can only be followers. We are always following what is doled out by an established norm by the industry. I mean, those decisions are not ours necessarily. How do we change that? Okay, and why do I say that it is not possible to break that? Take examples. I mean, I take the example of Wikipedia, take as an example, as a premier example on the internet, which is supported by people from all over the world, acknowledged by most of us, I think, that is doing stellar work. But if you look at the amount of money they can raise by giving a request internationally, that hey, we are doing good work, we need your support. And if you look at the count of money, it's maybe a few tens of millions of dollars a day annually, and it runs a show for the year, and then they'll again go ahead. But would these few tens of millions of dollars match up with currently, I just verified, it's of the order of $8 to $10 billion which requires to set up a semiconductor fab lab that can make the Intel microprocessors. That's the kind of money. There's no comparison. So the spirit is there to create great things. But the mechanism to fuel it is as yet not known. And here what I was suggesting to Richard Stallman and of course to all of you, and invite all your suggestions to educate us. I think the model that we are suggesting is the following. We want to create tangible mechanisms by which tangible hardware that I can hold, I'm not just talking about soft things, can be built, can be realized. And that requires access to real workshops, real laboratories, real people, and an environment which will encourage that. So we believe the TreeLabs model is directed in that direction. So how we do it? So we have, and the later video will summarize it, but maybe better than how I can illustrate with my moving hands. What we do is, we have a center, let's say, or a set of centers which are going to be the inventing hubs, where we excite youngsters to feel confident that, hey, you can go ahead and do this better than what I am doing. I'm sure if I'm interacting with 10 kids and they see closely what is happening, they'll say, I'll beat that. And the next year you'll have a better one. Please come. But we have structured this so that the IP of this belongs to TreeLabs, and TreeLabs does not belong privately. There are no private owners of TreeLabs. So it is structured as a corporation, but it is not privately owned, which means it belongs to everybody, so to say. So the IP is held by TreeLabs, which means held by everybody in some sense. It's just a structure that we are setting. And from these IP, we create commercial means. So they are spun out, like daughters, which are spinning out from the mother entity. And these daughters are completely commercial entities in the real world, businesses as usual, which are going to make these products. But TreeLabs becomes a partner, which means a real partner holds equity and revenue streams coming into TreeLabs. Mind you, all of these revenue streams and all is going to have only one goal, how to fuel the movement further. Because there are no private interests to take money away. Like, there are no shareholding. So what we believe is, if we can do this, and the arithmetic is not difficult to see, you can see that corporate level resources will start to stream in, not from one source, but from many sources, and not the kind of money which begging bowl does. We are talking about real corporate resources coming into the center, which will then have the ability to create these centers which are all accessible. So what I feel, if we have to have a real edge beyond what is already created by the open source movement, we are closely paralleling gaining on the spirits that is gained and giving it the real booster rockets to go further into space.
That's very interesting. But let's say someone has an idea or someone has a concept and he or she wants to be associated with TreeLabs to actually make it happen and to make the product see light of the day. What exactly is the process? I mean, how would someone go about, well, either initiating a project or maybe contributing towards a project?
There are many different scenarios possible. Let me take only one to illustrate. Let's say there's an inventor who comes. If the inventor's idea is going to make commercial gains, the inventor is going to get part of that. It's as simple as that. TreeLabs gets a part of it. So in the process, we are saying what we are trying to do is, let's say there's one idea, but TreeLabs may have a pool of ideas which can strengthen it to become a product. One idea in isolation may not make a product. The ecosystem of everything else, like from your linkages to the ability to make a product design to all the other things, put together, will allow the product to materialize successfully. And anyone in that chain will also benefit tangibly. Business as usual, as I say. So TreeLabs is all about business, except one partner, the key partner in your business is one part, which is TreeLabs, which is in the commons. So each one of our activities will lead to this one being strengthened. So if I go and create a company and I make money, TreeLabs gets to grow because of my company growing. And it's not a one-way scenario. For this company that I, let's say, create, I mean, tell me which company in the world which has become big is still like really thriving on its first product. So you have to keep innovating, right? Here we are saying TreeLabs wants to be the R&D partner, which is getting fueled by resources from all over, from all the partnering institutions, and therefore it becomes the major R&D partner that you have a partnership with. So it's a win-win situation.